The Not Forgotten Association was founded by American Marta Cunningham in 1920 following her visit the previous year to a Ministry of Pensions hospital. After learning there were a handful of soldiers wounded in World War I still residing there, she discovered 600 injured patients lying in hospital beds, with many more across the country. Horrified by what she saw, Marta set about contacting her friends to organise tea parties, concerts and outings for the wounded soldiers able to attend. On the 12th of August 1920, Marta formed the Not Forgotten Association for the comfort, cheer and entertainment of the war wounded. Within a year, some 10,000 men had benefited from the charity. Thanks to the generosity of other charities and the public, and with the firm backing of the royal family from the outset, hospital visits and tea concerts were followed by outings, events and gifts such as fruit, chocolate and cigarettes. In 1937, Marta Cunningham wrote, "As long as there are sufferers, so long will the not forgotten be needed, and they still are." Since 1920, around 1 million men and women have benefited from the Not Forgotten's activities. Today, the Not Forgotten Association remains true to Marta's original principles of providing entertainment and recreation to those injured in the service of their country. The charity has gone from strength to strength, continuing to adapt to the changing needs of their evolving beneficiary base, with the Princess Royal at its helm today as the patron.
When I first joined the Not Forgotten Association, it was mainly supporting Second World War veterans, and I had the absolute pleasure of meeting many First World War veterans. So when I first joined in 1998, it was more about supporting the older generation of veteran, but over the years, with the sort of unfortunate wars of Gulf War, Afghanistan, there's Northern Ireland, the South Atlantic, we decided that we wanted to support veterans of all ages.
I hadn't heard of the Not Forgotten before I came, which is part of the reason for coming. So part of it is the fact that the military charity sector is enormous, well over 2,000 charities, and frankly it's can be quite confusing. There's just so much out there, and many of us have heard of SAFA, Royal British Legion, and the big ones, and the old ones. Well, we are an old one. We're older than many of those old ones, in fact.
Well, when veterans are injured, newly injured, I found that people rally round, family take time off work, friends visit. It's not too long when people have to go about their daily lives, and those veterans are often left alone at home, isolated and lonely. So I think the Not Forgotten and other military charities that offer opportunities for those veterans, bring them out of themselves, get them out and about, socialising with like-minded people, it's really important to people's well-being. We were one of the few charities that when COVID hit, we adapted our programme of events. Instead of going into the care homes, we performed little shows in the gardens. We introduced drive-ins to our events and socially distanced people.
If you're dealing with an average age older community who've still got the impact of COVID and the cost of living layered on top of that, that means what we deliver is arguably ever more important than before, but how we deliver and what we deliver has to be changed and refined to cater for those circumstances. And a big part of this is going out into the regions rather than necessarily being so London-centric.
I think the challenges are the same for every charity, military or otherwise, in that funding has just reduced since COVID. It's been really difficult to sort of pick yourselves up and move on and find new sources of income. With the funding issues that are facing everyone at the moment, we might have to just adapt our programme and do slightly different events that perhaps are a little bit cheaper. But the main thing with the Not Forgotten is the camaraderie and the socialisation, reducing isolations.
How we pitch to the serving community, which is really important, because actually we've all served and we will all become veterans at some point, and many of us are wounded, injured and sick.
It was Billy Drinkwater, my friend who I served with in the Royal Anglian Regiment. He said to get in touch with the Not Forgotten, that it helped veterans with mental health. So I did.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff we need to consider to really engage with that next generation. What's our virtual footprint like? What's our approach to esports and gaming, which we're doing quite a lot of research on at the moment? Because in 10 years' time, that community will be increasingly our veteran community, and in 30 years' time, that community will be almost exclusively our veteran community.
I have the privilege to talk to people in their veterans in their 90s, in their 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 18.
There's so many people I've met over the years, veterans whose courage and spirit and determination for life after injury is just amazing. But if we go back to my early years, I met a wonderful World War II veteran called Bill in the Royal Navy, and his story broke my heart, really. He lost so many friends at sea. He then lost his wife, and that's when we first became aware of Bill, because he was really struggling living on his own. But I kept in touch with Bill right up until the point where he passed away a couple of years ago. But then all through the years, I've just met so many inspirational people. I can't possibly just mention one.
Everybody I've spoken to says, at last I've got purpose again. At last I've got family again. At last I've got a sense of belonging again. Layered on top of that is the fact that there's so many people, luckily not huge numbers, but so many people who've said to me, Rich, I'm not sure, if it weren't for the Not Forgotten, I'm not sure whether I would still be here today.
I've gone through a lot all through my life, as a child, as an adult. So when someone gives me something, I really do 100% appreciate it, and I don't take it ever for granted.
Often when veterans have been on our events, they've had such a good time. It's helped them enormously move forward with their lives. They've made new friends, which is really important because a lot are isolated and lonely. And our respite breaks in particular give people the opportunity to meet new people, like-minded people. But also, so many of the veterans that we support want to give something back. So they go off and do a bike ride or a marathon, bake cakes. There's so many different lovely ways that veterans just want to do their bit for the charity that has supported them.
I love volunteering. When I get the chance, I will volunteer and help. It's a natural thing in me. I love helping other veterans.
Yeah, had we not been born of that royal relationship, and had we not got that grand strategic top cover from the 1920s, would the Not Forgotten have lived much beyond the demise of Martha Cunningham? Possibly not.
And may it continue for many, many hundreds of years.
I just hope in some small way I've just helped people move on in their lives, given them a little bit of hope, given them a little bit of support. So for me, it's just about giving something back to all those that have served their country and are struggling or suffering.